What do you make of that? We've now got Toby Young from the Free Speech Union. Toby, I don't know how much you heard of that, but what do you think? It was time for Donald Trump to go from Twitter.
Well, I think he could have been temporarily suspended, but not permanently banned. And there does seem something wrong about a small group of multi-billionaires in Silicon Valley being able to silence the elected president of the United States, who, after all, got 63 million votes in 2016 and 74 million in 2020. I think if someone is directly trying to incite their followers to violence, then I think fair dues prevent them from using that platform to do that. But I think if they're just saying things you vehemently disagree with, if they're saying things that you think are false, if they're trafficking in conspiracy theories, I think it's wrong to censor them, partly for the reason you just said, which is that if you censor them, if you suppress those theories, that bad speech, you're not going to persuade Trump's followers that it's untrue. You're just going to persuade them that it's true. They'll think, well, if there's nothing to it, why do you need to silence him? Why do you need to suppress his voice? Much better that people should be able to lay out these crackpot theories in the public square so they can be rebutted with reason and evidence. If you suppress them, you'll force them underground and you'll force their followers to become even more extreme and to remain within their bubbles, and they'll never hear the other side.
Patrick, what do you make of that? I mean, he makes a good point, though. They're going to be forced underground, aren't they?
Well, I do agree with the criticism about the power of a small number of very wealthy companies and individuals who own those companies. Of course, it's worth remembering that Toby Young also works for the billionaire press. You know, the Spectator is owned by billionaires. So I would like to see all of these people have some power and influence taken away from them. But the implication, if these kind of bans shouldn't be in place, is that actually the state should be compelling a company like Amazon Web Services, for whom I hold no candle, should be compelling them to actually promote either conspiracy theories or organized violence. Look, there are basic standards of decency that are involved here, and it's really dangerous that we allow the notion of free speech to become the kind of sole preserve of people who want the freedom to be racist, to be transphobic, to be homophobic, or to promote dangerous conspiracy theories. That's not what free speech is for, and that's not its value in our society.
Toby Young, are you worried at the moment about where the conversation is?
Well, I am worried that free speech has become something that people believe only benefits male, pale and stale conservatives like me. Historically, free speech has benefited marginalized minority groups like the suffragettes, like the gay rights movement, like the civil rights movement. Without the protections of the First Amendment in the US Constitution, the civil rights movement wouldn't have been able to get off the ground in the United States. Without pivotal court cases being won by the American Civil Liberties Union in the 1960s, the organizers of the civil rights movement wouldn't have been able to march and protest and demonstrate. So I think it's really important to clarify that free speech benefits everyone. It doesn't just benefit people like Donald Trump and his crazy supporters. And my concern is not so much that Trump won't have as large a platform as he used to. My concern is that this is the beginning of a slippery slope, and that once this small cabal of billionaires in Silicon Valley think they can silence the elected president of the United States, what's to stop them silencing you and I?
What do you make of that, Patrick Harvey? Do you think this is the start of a slippery slope?
I think, given the kind of toxic movement that was built up by and around Donald Trump, working with the far right, the way that that's taken hold in America, and including working with some really absurd and dangerous conspiracy theories, whether that's the QAnon stuff, whether it's climate denial or whatever else, we're already a long way down a slippery slope. We are in a dangerous position. And if I genuinely believe that Toby Young was interested in all the progressive left-wing causes he's just mentioned, then maybe there might be some common ground. But I do find it bizarre when we're hearing people who respond as though you've called for full communism to the idea that housing should be a human right or that universal healthcare is a human right, they deny those things, but they seem to think that Twitter is a human right. It isn't. It's a commercial platform. I'd like to see it, as well as the Spectator and the Barclay brothers and other billionaire press owners, to be a lot less powerful in our society. But free speech is not just about the freedom of those powerful people who already have the microphone.
We're running out of time, but I just want to give Toby you an opportunity to respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between our press and the monopoly that big tech has on social media is that there are plenty of different magazines. If you don't like The Spectator, you can read The New Statesman. If you don't like The Times, you can read The Guardian. Over there, the alternative to Twitter and Facebook was something called Parley. But that's now been effectively deplatformed by Amazon, Apple, and Google working in unison. And I think the real problem, and I think we probably do have some common ground here, is that big tech is a monopoly. They have far too much power. They need to be broken up. There needs to be proper competition. So people who aren't welcome on platforms like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube can find somewhere else to go. It's not fair, is it, that they should be completely excluded from the public conversation?
OK, Toby Young and Patrick Harvey, thank you very much. It's a really, really interesting discussion. I'm sure we'll be having it again. Thank you very much for your time.